Hello.
Hello.
It's gone totally black. We're in the middle of like a giant storm right now. So apologies if you hear the rumble of thunder, the flashing of lightning. Hello. So this is all about us. So welcome. Happy Monday. I haven't put MTTP in here. It has started tracking into Sisense again, but it looks pretty horrendous. And I suspect that's because we don't have all of, it's not 17 days of May data. It's probably just the first couple of days. So I will review where we are with that one for now. On the announcements, I don't think anything too much to shout here. Just be aware on B, if you've been at GitLab for a while, that may affect you. So please just check your DocuSign accounts. Cool. And then on discussions, I'm going to actually reorder the agenda. Let's scrub it. Let's pull your item up to the top because my ones can pretty much be done async if needed. But since we also have Jav here,
I don't
let's
want to talk
dive in.
first.
I've just done like a whole minute of talking. Okay, kick us off.
So we have some environment variables that need to be configured inside of Kubernetes, and currently we don't support the ability to put secretive information inside of environment variables inside of Kubernetes. This is a limitation to our Helm chart. This is desired by our Helm chart. We have it in our documentation to prevent us from setting secrets as environment variables into our Kubernetes configuration. So I see us having two options to move forward here. Is one, we need to modify the policy by our Helm chart to allow such configuration. Two, we could pick up that issue to add the necessary configuration so we could create a secret object and pull that in as an environment variable. Both of those will take a little bit of time and feedback from the distribution team in order to get accomplished, and then upgrade our chart accordingly to get that environment put in place. The other option we have is to utilize Customize, which is what we used for our console Helm chart deployment for a short period of time before we rolled it back due to other reasons. This would allow us to move forward faster, but requires a little bit of, disgusting grossness until we get the Helm chart configuration touched. So if we go with that option, I would try to enforce that once we're done with the API migration, we as in delivery picks up this Helm chart issue and rocks that out into production before we continue forward with any further migrations. That way we could reduce some of the amount of tech debt that we're adding by trying to move forward with the API migration.
I agree. I think that sounds sensible. We have some, I suppose it's a how much. Okay, so different threads here, right? So it's if we can patch this and do it in parallel and then come back to the Helm chart change, assuming distribution haven't got to it before we get there, which I'll assume they won't, right? Because it's only a few days.
It's not
probably.
even prioritized.
Yeah. That sounds like the best approach.
Okay.
Now, the only question mark I put on that one is the bug that Henry just pointed out that Graham mentioned last time we did this. Does anyone know did we ever find the issue to what that bug is?
No, I looked at the issue and I couldn't find a reference to it. I just saw the verbiage of him looking or commenting about it, but couldn't find it. So I think what I could do is test to make sure I could recreate the patch of what we would need to create inside of our own Helm chart. And I could test this in Minikube, for example. And I could also test rolling backwards just to make sure that we're not going to have a problem when we remove the configuration, see if we run into that bug. And then that should be able to give us enough confidence to either move forward or revisit this plan of action if necessary. But I
Great.
do like that option. I just want to make it clear that, in my opinion, we should work on that Helm chart issue like first thing afterwards.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
If all goes well, obviously.
Agree. Yeah. And there are 3 of you around who can contribute on this. So I think it's we can, as long as we line these things up,
Yep.
Like if someone has time to pick up, starting work on the Helm chart, then we can go there.
I would agree. To address some of Jar's comments here, I don't know about the subscription portal admin token. I don't know who to contact for that either. But I do agree with you, like the allow lists, we have 2 of those. So we need to tackle this regardless. So I think, we could just push that into place. And while I'm working on this in parallel, I can figure out who to talk to see if that's something that we require. But yeah, it looks like the Grafana API key is not one that we need to carry over. So we still need at least 2, maybe 3 environment variables that contain secret information that needs to get rolled into the API deployments.
And the allow list variable, I think there's only 1 customer right now. So it's just 1 entry there. And besides that, I'm wondering anyway, how we make sure that if we need to add something more, that we make sure that SREs are putting this into both places, like for Chef and also for Kubernetes, right? So moving this into GKMS might be the best short way forward, maybe, because then you would have.
Is it not in GKMS? Is it not in GKMS now?
It's in the role file and the base role file.
Oh, really? Yeah. Let's just move it into GKMS. I think it makes. I mean, either case though, we can just source it from either the role file or GKMS, so it's authored in one place.
One of them is in GKMS, and one of them, as Henry has found, or excuse me, one of them's in a role file, and as Henry found, the other one's in some weird configuration. But
weird? What do you mean weird config?
Yeah, I think if we had this, once we had this environment key directly in the role file, and then we later changed it to a different name as an omnibus attribute in the chef role file, and in the omnibus cookbook to then convert this into an environment variable inside of that. So we have a different name now for a setting, which will become an environment variable in Chef. And yeah, it's a hash that needs to be converted somehow. So yeah.
Okay, but we could just move this to GKMS, and then once it's there, then we just read it from GKMS like we do other things, and we don't need any chart updates. For the customers token, I don't know, like we can ask one of the developers for customers like GitLab.com how it's used. My suspicion would be that it's not needed for API, but willing to validate that.
Is that the subscription portal admin token?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll follow up in whatever Slack channel. I'll find them and ask them.
Yeah, let's ask in development, and if you don't get an answer, let me know and we'll chase up. Do we need any Java/reliability help for the moving stuff into GKMS?
No, we've got Henry and I both know how to do that very well, so we can tackle that.
Awesome. Okay, great. And the other one is on A3 as well, is that the avatar issue. Looks like there's potentially also a code problem in that. So that would be another good one, I think, if either we can hand over to Graham later tonight, or if there's a way, like if we do think it's a code thing, we can find a way to get some help for this one.
Just prior to this meeting, I responded to Henry wondering if we should open up an issue in GitLab or GitLab, because if it's a code issue, that's not our purview.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed.
But as far as setting that environment variable, we're good to go on that part. So I just closed this issue too early by accident.
Okay, that sounds good. Great, nice stuff. Good. And so like if we don't get through all of this stuff today, like hand over to Graham and let's see what he can push forwards.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Nice. Thanks for bringing that one up. So Q1, thanks for the comments on the Q1 retro issue. If there are any other actions, either you want to add on there or discuss now, then shout. Like, it would be good to have a think about how do we build on what we did in Q1, which like loads of great stuff around collaboration. We made loads of great progress. I think my takeaway was we made good progress on too many projects, and goal for Q2 is to work on fewer projects.
I've got one action, but I don't know how to make it an action. It's more like a comment.
Okay.
We could stop losing team members. You know, like we lost York and we lost Jarv. I don't know how to encourage Jarv to come back, and I don't know how to tell database team that they don't need sharding. But you know, if we kept York, I would have been happy. That's all I have. Thank you.
Still here. Still here.
I'm not sure we have infinite scaling though on our team. Like, I think there's a slight restriction on how many people we're allowed to have in our team. But it's a fair point. It did highlight, it does highlight like the overhead as well, when like having Can coming in just for a few weeks, you know, not like him not having time to actually kind of get settled and start adding value. Like, it does show how, yeah, there is also an overhead of people starting. So
I'm hoping we could avoid that situation in the future. Like, it was unfortunate timing, but like that was kind of crappy.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. Yes, yes. Cool. Okay, I'll leave the issue open for a few days. If you do want to add any suggestions or respond to any comments that other people have left on there, please do. Cool. And then related to this is C. So what I'll start doing is on Mondays, sharing priorities in Slack. The main reason for this is just because we have got loads going on. We get pinged on lots of stuff. There are lots of different things flying around. So just to try and help know what we can push back. I'll do this weekly because I think our stuff changes quite rapidly. So give me a shout on things that you're aware of that we do need to get prioritized, and we'll work out like, how do we prioritize these for next week? So for example, there's definitely some more registry work coming up that I think we could push out to next week, but we do want to get to it before too long. Couple of things I did just want to highlight on the priorities for this week. Number 3, we have a registry task. I actually love all of you to do this, which is that the registry team have put together an alternative proposal for the registry migration. So this changes the way that we would be deploying. It changes our setup, which is great. It has some kind of infrastructure dependent impact, but also they talk quite a lot about how they're actually going to do things in the code. So Robert, I'm pretty sure you'll actually have some thoughts on how they're going to approach this. They've been trying to get time with Stan. They haven't had a great load, like he's a little bit limited. So I don't think they've had as much input as they would like, but certainly from a delivery perspective, knowing that we'll be deploying to this thing, it has a link to Omnibus, and just anything you can think about, whether there are additional risks you could see here, or you know, or like things that we should watch for would be really good if you could do that. It didn't take me too long to go through this one. Certainly not every point in their document is relevant to us. So it's probably like 30 minutes will be enough to get an overview and leave a comment. An hour would be a thorough review and a comment. So please do take some time to do that for them.
And also we should try to make that work if we can, because it will make it much easier for us to deploy registry, because this will be the one way to just keep one single cluster and one single bucket and do the migration in place, instead of us needing to fiddle around with a lot of extra infrastructure work. So review it, but give it a positive spin if you can.
There is one big area in there that I think will be a technical challenge. I left a comment around that. As yet, we don't know how we'd solve that. So that will be a one I should go through. If you can see things that like, okay, how would we do that? And you have some ideas, then also would be a great one to add to. And then beyond that is our two kind of OKRs we've got going on, like API service, obviously, and also rollbacks. We're so close to having everything we need for our next test. And then there's a few other things which 1738 and 1741, but then plus anything else on the board, right? So I went through the board this morning. Everything on the board is valuable and useful and links in with either projects we have going on or OKRs. Cool. So related to this, so we have got an outstanding task on rollbacks that we need to pick up. And we also, the scalability team have started looking at scaling DB connections. And I think after this morning's incident, reliability, I expect we'll be looking at scaling the web nodes. Do we need to have a rollbacks demo tomorrow? Would it be more useful to just have an extra hour and that will gives us time to actually get through our tasks that we need to do for API service and rollbacks?
I'll put the latter.
Cool. Okay, I'll cancel this for tomorrow. And I'm kind of expecting as soon as we feel like we've got through the rollbacks, follow-up issues, which Alessia has kind of nicely grouped on the issue on the epic already, we can just schedule our next production test and have another run.
And how far do we need to maybe push forward the scaling up of the fleet? Because it could block us in doing deployments, right? If we need to drain Canary for some reason and we can't because we don't have enough capacity in the fleet.
Yes, I'm expecting it to be a corrective action.
Problematic.
I'm sure I'm expecting it to be a corrective action following this morning. That would be my like, I don't know if Jav, you know any more on that one. I guess Igor was more involved in it, but well, the only thing I did leave a comment on is we do get quite close to using all of our DB connections, right? We hit 80% of DB connections. If we scale up the web fleet and the API fleet too much, we're going to run out of those.
I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into this myself. I'm also worried about quotas too, because I don't know, Skyback, are we like in pretty good shape now with C4 quotas?
Yeah, I had all that bump last week, so we're good to go for the time being.
I will follow up on that issue, but yeah, I expect Igor has experienced it twice in 2 weeks, so I'll be quite surprised if he doesn't push to move this one forward. But I'll check in on that one. Cool.
Yeah, but this shift will end today, right? So the next one will start on-call shift, so we need to make sure that this is transported forward, maybe, and maybe actively look into see if we can work on that.
Yeah, I'll check in with Igor. I'll be surprised if it doesn't get handed over, but yeah, I'll take a look. Cool. And then number E, just to confirm that Yorick has officially left the team. He is in sharding. I'm going to start the offboarding for him this week. Obviously he's around, so you can ping him and stuff, but he won't be part of all the delivery pings going forwards. And we are still in progress of trying to arrange a backfill for how we cover Yorick. So in the meantime, if there are any specific tasks or pressures, we're doing too much, then let me know and we'll work out like how do we get through the short term being a person down. Awesome. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up on the recording?